Well, to discuss this further, we're joined now by the former Italian Prime Minister and former President of the European Commission, Romano Prodi, and also by the former Greek Finance Minister, Yannos Papantoniou. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us here on Al Jazeera. Mr. Prodi, if I could start with you. You gave an interview to the Spiegel a few days ago, and you said that for this summit to succeed, what was needed was an act of solidarity in European politics. What did you mean by that?
Oh, it's very simple. If taken together, the euro area is much, much better than the United States. Let's say we have less deficit, less debt, everything is better, but we are divided, and so we are under attack by all the markets. And an act of solidarity simply is, look, we are together, we must stick together. It's our interest, even of the Germans, to stick together, and so it's simple to find an agreement. But, you know, this, the obstacle are the internal political difference and the eternal debates we had in the last months. And so the act of solidarity is a simple, wise political decision.
And so if I could just make that clear, so by that you would mean fiscal union and the ECB backing the euro?
Yes, 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 and do it quickly, because if you make fantastic plans, but they can do implemented only after months and months, you know, the speculation is working against the euro. And is an urgency to take decisions now.
Okay, let's hear now from the former Greek Finance Minister, Yannos Papantoniou, joining us from Athens. Mr. Papantoniou, I understand you are also a supporter of fiscal unification within the eurozone. One of the issues discussed is the Commission being able to impose penalties on countries that run up an excessive budget deficit. Do you think that would be enough, though? Can you change, for example, tax evasion in Greece, the lack of growth, just with Brussels imposing penalties?
That's exactly the point I wish to make, that the approach taken by the European leaders is very insufficient, very incomplete, very partial. The only focus on fiscal discipline, as if a penal law for sin makers is enough to make Europe work. It won't. Europe and the markets want two things as well. They want growth, which means that the countries should perform structural reforms and also engage in investments so as to re-engineer economic recovery and so cover the deficits through increased tax receipts. And this is completely missing in the package that the European leaders are discussing today. There is no element touching growth, recovery, investments or reforms, not at all, not a single item in the agenda. And the second thing that the markets want and the countries want is that the eurozone applies overwhelming financial power so as to combat panic, because panic is what is chasing the spreads today and makes the financial world extremely uneasy. But the green light that the European leaders are likely to give to the European Central Bank to engage in bond buying will be very weak indeed, and I very much doubt whether Mr. Draghi will get involved in sufficient bond buying so as to calm the markets. And lastly, there is disagreement and objection to the issuance of Eurobonds, which is the long-term solution to the problem of fiscal unification. So many elements are missing for making this package a convincing one. And what I will think, unfortunately, is that after a couple of days at most of relative comfort in the markets, that some decisions have been taken, after the lapse of this time interval, then again speculation will increase and the Eurozone will find itself exactly in the same position as it was a couple of days ago. So I'm not terribly optimistic about what will happen, and I'm really sorry that there is not enough sophistication, economic or political sophistication in the European leadership today to find at last the will and the determination to proceed with what is necessary, what it takes for making the Eurozone work.
Back to Romano Prodi in Bologna. Well, how do you feel? I mean, you were obviously Prime Minister in Italy, European Commission President as well. Now in Italy and in Greece, we see these technocratic governments. Do you feel that perhaps democracy is slipping away in some of the southern European countries, all the more so if there is a fiscal union with Germany and France calling the shots?
Oh, first of all, in these few days, what you call a technocratic government has already fixed up our budget, and so nobody can tell that Italy does not perform to the rules dictated, you know. So, but please, this is not technocratic government because must be approved by the parliament, and is simply a truce because the urgency of the market needed to take such tough decision. They couldn't be taken by a normal government. You know, but it's not so different when you have a coalition government in Germany or in Austria, you know.
No one is saying the technocratic government isn't efficient, but not democratic. And gentlemen, if I can just ask you both the same question, Yannos Papantoniou.
But why not democratic? It must be approved.
There are a lot of people, both in Italy and outside, who claim that these governments weren't directly elected. But let me end on a final point, starting with Yannos Papantoniou. But Mr. Prodi, I'll ask you that question as well. There's a lot of apocalyptic talk right now, talk about the disintegration of the euro, even of the EU. Do you worry about the political and social upheaval that this could have in Europe? Mr. Papantoniou, you first, please.
Sorry, the question is whether it will be social and political upheaval, in which
the impact
case
it would have, the impact that it would have on the people.
I'm very worried about social and political upheaval, particularly in Greece, because the Greek people have suffered lots of sacrifice in the last couple of years, and they see no light at the end of the tunnel. If Europe does not get its act together and the present crisis persists, this will make the efforts undertaken by Greece even more difficult, and the rewards will not be coming. So I'm very much afraid that during 2012, the patience of the Greek people will get exhausted, and this will have, of course, have very negative consequences on the pursuit on the implementation of the program. And also, if the crisis persists in Europe, similar problems may occur in Italy, in Spain, in Portugal, and the other over-indebted countries.
Romano Prodi, are you worried that we're at a turning point right now, which could be a turning for the worse for Europe?
Yes, of course I am worried, but I do think that Sarkozy and Merkel understand that they will be much, much worse off if they don't propose to the 17 countries some solution immediately. And, you know, the dissolution of the euro is a damaging event for everybody inside and outside Europe, even for the United States. And so I think that now the sense of urgency will prevail, because in the last months everything has been, all the decisions have been taken late and in insufficient dimension.
Well, we'll hope to have some kind of resolution by the end of the weekend. Romano Prodi, former president of the EU Commission, former Italian Prime Minister, and Yannos Papantoniou, former Greek Finance and Economy Minister. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us on Al Jazeera.